Hey, what's going on? It's Stokely from Sauce on Delay. Oh man, this sound recording program does whatever it wants to do. Sometimes I'm talking and it just cuts off, and then sometimes, I don't know, it just works. So anyhow, just saw my neighbor wiping his car down. And, you know, I had seen him probably, I don't know, twice in the past year. Twice this year, 2025. And I saw him the top of the year when it was cold outside, and I noticed that he seemed a little slimmer. And then now I seen him, you know, now that the weather's turning back around again now. But now that it's, you know, I think it's about maybe 70 degrees outside, so he just had on a raglan, which is like a long sleeve t-shirt. And I'm like, what's going on, man? You know, what's his secret for losing weight? Because he lost a lot of weight. He lost weight, I saw it from the January, but I can't really see too much because I saw him in the dark and he had a jacket on. He was walking his dog. And then now I seen him in a shirt, and I see, you know, his stomach is all flat. Before his stomach was kind of sticking out. And I'm like, you know, what's the secret, man? And, you know, you got slim, you know, your stomach is all flat and stuff. So he went on to tell me that, you know, he had some poor eating habits that I found alarming. He said he would sit in front of the TV and eat a whole tub of ice cream. He said he would also eat 3 Cadbury chocolate bars. And a Cadbury chocolate bar is like a family-sized Hershey bar. So he ate the equivalent of 3 family-sized Hershey bars by himself. And he would also drink sodas, you know. And I said that probably the best thing that he would drink was Smart Water, which is just I think Smart Water is sweetened with aspartame. I think Smart Water is sweetened with stevia. I'm not 100% sure, but anyhow, that's probably probably the most out of those things that he listed. You know, probably the only thing that wasn't really contributing a significant amount of sugar. Now, he was also eating a lot of rice, he said, and he was eating a lot of roti, which is a Trinidadian version, basically, of a Trinidadian or Guyanese version. I mean, it's an international thing, but it's basically like a tortilla. The whole world makes tortillas, basically. They make tortillas in Africa, they call it something else. They make tortillas in India, they call it something else. They make tortillas in Mexico, they call it something else. Well, they call it tortillas, but, you know. So he was eating a lot of rice, a lot of tortillas, roti. He was eating a lot of chocolates, eating a lot of ice cream, drinking soda every day. And I was wondering, wait a minute, he must have had a health scare, but it wasn't a health scare. It was more of an aesthetic wake-up call. You know, he realized that he didn't want to look a certain way, and he also realized that he was a man of a certain age, and he didn't want to, you know, he wanted to keep himself up, you know, or bring himself into good shape. Now, in addition to that, he told me that what he's doing, he's also juicing now. And he was touting the benefits of juicing, and he suggested drinking a combination of beets, carrots, ginger, cucumbers, and spinach. And drinking that every day, approximately from, you know, he just used a finger gauge, like, you know, showing me this amount. And I interpret this amount to mean about 4 ounces. So he drinks about 4 ounces every day of this mixture. And he said, don't get the big ginger roots. Get the small ones. Those ones have, you know, more of a kick to it. So he's turned his life around. He says, and I asked him about his job, you know. He said, you know, I mean, he sits down a good amount, but he also walks a lot at work. So I guess the walking at work is probably what saved him from developing diabetes, because he still didn't have diabetes, even though he would eat whole tubs of ice cream, eat the equivalent of, you know, 3 family-size Hershey bars, and drink soda, eat rice, And roti. Because the rice goes with the roti. The roti is not even like a substitute for rice. You eat it with it. So he's eating simple carbohydrates, which turn straight into sugar, including all these other added sugars that he was consuming, and then washing it down with a soda. You know what I'm saying? And then having some ice cream for dessert. So it was really, you know, I was him telling me that kind of scared me. I'm like, well, wait a minute, are you okay? But apparently he was okay. But you know, it's wonderful that he caught it so early, or it's wonderful that he turned his life around without having to turn it around, you know. And you know, it was good talking to him. But he said he went from a size 38 waist to a size 30. Sometimes he can even wear size 29. But he went from a 38 waist all the way down to a 30 or 29 waist. So that was impressive. Another thing, okay, I forgot to mention that one of the bad things he was doing is eat late, you know. And, you know, when you're working out here, you know, I mean, working anywhere, it doesn't matter if you're working in New York. You go to work, you work 9 to 5, and then you commute for 2 hours, and then you get home at 7 o'clock in the night, and then you got to prepare something to eat. By the time you eat, it's about 8, 9 o'clock, you know. So, and then you're probably going to bed probably by 11. So, you know, your food needs probably about 4 hours to digest. So your food was digested for maybe 3 hours, and then now it's going to interrupt your sleep and whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, and your body needs time to rest, not to be constantly working on the food in your stomach. But anyhow, I was impressed. And he did this turnaround probably within 1 year span or less. You know, the first time I noticed it was the beginning of this year. So he probably started from probably mid last year. And then now we're close to the fall. You know, he started from summer last year, and then now it's fall of this year. So probably took him a little over a year to go from a size 38 waist to a size 30. You know, I didn't ask him what his weight was, but I would say that he probably went from, I don't know, about 250 to like 200. You know, he probably lost about 50 pounds, probably, you know, and a significant, if his waist size changed, that means a lot of the weight lifted off of his waist, lifted off of his stomach. You know, he's looking really good. He's probably not that much older than me. His kids are in their 20s. You know, if I started on time, whatever you want to call it, early, I could have kids that are in their mid-20s right now. But, you know, so he's probably not much older than I am. He's probably maybe just about 50 years old. But, you know, it was encouraging. I hope this thing is recording. Nope. Oh, yes, it's recording. Whoa, thought the battery died. Anyhow, but that's all I got to say. I got to go in here and buy a tool and do some stuff, and just sharing that, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are. It could be 50 years old, it could be 40 years old, 30 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old. I know some people who are 70 years old who are just getting into juicing and just getting into trying to be vegetarian and just starting to monitor their health. And, you know, they've been working out, but still, you know, they're still learning new things, you know, and trying to take care of themselves and trying to live long and be healthy, you know, and healing themselves through food and healing themselves through nutrition. And one thing he was saying to me, listen, it doesn't cost a lot. It doesn't cost a lot. You can buy 4 cucumbers for $1. You know, it doesn't cost a lot. You know what I mean? You can buy some beets for whatever. You know what I mean? You can buy some carrots for whatever. Carrots are not expensive. Carrots are definitely not expensive. So that was a great talk and a great experience talking to him about that. So I had it was intriguing and interesting, and I learned a lot. But hey, I hope you learned something. Thanks for listening. Bang.